Let's go.
Okay, I am delighted to be joined here by David Allan, fellow trustee of Parkinson's UK and trustee for Scotland as well. And David, it'd be great if you could just give a little bit of background of you and Parkinson's and how long since you were diagnosed and how you first came to be diagnosed.
Okay, thanks for the intro, Gary. I was diagnosed 11 years ago now when I was living in Dubai. And the neurologist who diagnosed me assumed, based on what I told him, that I'd been living with Parkinson's for about 10 years before that. So quite a long time, really.
Yeah. And that makes, I mean, one of my first experiences with you was in Scotland at the young onset or people working with Parkinson's session. That was the 2-day session. How do you see young onset Parkinson's relative to Parkinson's broadly?
It's quite a different animal, I think. Not least of all because for young onset Parkinson's, I mean, they have different expectations, different needs, different requirements. They're at a different stage in life. People with advanced Parkinson's generally have paid off their mortgage, have seen their kids grow up and fly the coop. They're usually grandparents by this stage, 60s, 70s. Whereas people who are young onset, especially 50 and below, they tend to be mid-career and planning the next career move rather than the next Parkinson's move, as it were. And they're only halfway, if that, through paying their mortgage off. And if they haven't got critical illness cover as insurance, then they're really in a difficult way, financially speaking.
And you were in mid-career in some senses. I mean, tell us about your career and what you were doing.
Yeah, at the time of diagnosis, I was living in Dubai. I lived in Asia, various countries in the Middle East for almost 30 years. And I'd probably still be there if I hadn't been diagnosed, to be perfectly honest. I was managing a chain of multinational PR agencies based in Dubai, but traveling a lot. It's kind of like if it's Monday, it must be Cairo. If it's Tuesday, it must be Singapore kind of lifestyle, which, as I'm sure you know, Gary, is not as exotic or as sexy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Once you've seen one airport and one airport hotel, you've seen them all.
That's certainly true. That's certainly true. And what made you decide to put yourself forward for the trustee role at Parkinson's UK?
I felt there was a need to bridge the gap, as it were, between the people on the ground at local group level and the people in London. There was a very visible, to me at least anyway, gap that needed bridging. There was a disconnect. They were talking two different languages, and I don't mean that literally, I mean that metaphorically, of course. The whole language debate is another issue. But I think we've overcome a lot of those distances. We've bridged a lot of the gaps. We are given, fortunately for us, a lot of autonomy by London, do our own Scottish thing without going down the tartan shortbread bagpipe route. We are able to put a Scottish flavour on things. And because, as you know, Gary, it's quite a different country, culturally, sociologically, economically speaking. Geographically, it's certainly a very different country. I mean, we have one lady, in order to attend her monthly meeting, has to take 2 ferries, a bus, and 2 trains. That's like 2 or 3 days out of her life to attend one meeting. So Zoom has been a godsend for her during COVID. And moving ahead, we're gradually restoring our face-to-face meetings and our monthly activities, but we're approaching it from a blended approach. So we're still doing online meetings, online quizzes, online gatherings, and so forth, because it also addresses the need for some people who are unwilling or incapable of meeting in large groups. They're too shy, or they're too anxious, or too far away, or simply plain not interested in identifying themselves to other people. I mean, I know quite a few people off the top of my head who have confided in me that they have Parkinson's, but they don't want anyone to know. It's rather sad. And
Yeah.
two of them don't even want their families to know.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So they're denying themselves a whole support network, as it were, of the first degree. So we, as people volunteering for Parkinson's UK, are almost surrogate supporters for them. Emotional support, financial support, whatever it may take.
And what do you see as the priorities for Parkinson's UK? You know, what do you think are the 2 or 3 things we've got to really focus on and get right?
We're doing a lot right as it stands. There's areas where we need to improve. And one of those areas, which is close to my heart, is this veritable tsunami of information which bombards people upon diagnosis.
Yeah.
It scares people, it freaks people out. It's not palatable. People need a little information, but the right kind of information upon diagnosis. You've got the rest of their lives to learn all the other stuff. And the stuff they really need immediately after diagnosis is information about benefits, information about insurances, information about mortgage and banking, information about job security, information about employment, what they can do in terms of adaptations at the workplace, for example, adaptations at home. Where can they get a discount? Many people don't know they can get discounted cinema tickets, for example, or they can get free pass on the M6 toll.
Right. I didn't know about the M6 toll.
I use that a lot when I drive up and down to London.
I've just been on the M6 a couple of weeks ago, so.
And you paid.
and I paid. So, from your point of view, I want to now explore a little bit more about what the real David Allan. And so, you've got a dinner party this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You can invite 2 people, and the 2 people can be people who are living, who are well known, who died centuries ago. Whoever you want. Who are the 2 people you'd invite, and why?
It's going to be very controversial, I think, my answer, but one of the 2 would have to be Adolf Hitler.
Would be who?
Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler. Gosh.
And I say it's controversial because of who he is and what he stands for or stood for. But the reason I would like to invite him is because I've read Mein Kampf in the original German, and it intrigues me, his whole thought process and his whole raison d'etre, as they say in French, his whole reason for existing. He got jailed for it, of course, initially, but then it became his guiding principle for Lebensraum and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it intrigues me, not least of all because here nowadays in 2022, we have an almost carbon copy follower in Vladimir Putin. Want to extend the borders of Russia and make it what was the Soviet Union, make it the reborn Soviet Union, as it were. He's already got Belarus under his wing. He's got parts of Ukraine. And where is he going to stop? And the other person I would invite would be the other end of the spectrum, Nelson Mandela.
Right.
I would like to get inside his head and find out how he could have managed to tolerate prison for 28 years. I've been to Robben Island. It was not exactly a glamorous place.
No, it certainly isn't.
And the guy has so much patience, so much forgiveness, so much courage. And my South African friends, my age and younger, are so devoid of feelings of retribution or vengeance. And that must say a lot for the man to have achieved that before his death.
I totally agree.
With the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and all these constructs, because it could have easily gone down the other route and ended massive bloodshed and been a basket case like Zimbabwe.
So that's going to be a very interesting dinner party. I'd like to be a fly on the wall on that.
I'll invite you as well, Gary.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. So one final question for you. I was going to ask you which book you'd like to read, but you've kind of given me one book. What film would you like to, favorite film that you'd like to see again that you've seen?
Hotel New Hampshire.
Go on, I don't know that one.
The Hotel New Hampshire is written by an American guy called John Irving,
Right.
who also wrote, but now my mind's gone blank, of course. But look him up. He's written a lot of books I'm sure you'll have heard of. And many of them have been made into movies as well. No, it's gone, completely
No
gone. But John Irving, Hotel New Hampshire, it was in the days when Jodie Foster and Rob Lowe were the big names of the day.
Gosh,
And they played brother and sister siblings in the movie. And one of the classic lines from the movie was, "Keep passing by the open window," because there was a series of suicides in the hotel.
Okay, sounds. I will look this up. I will definitely look it up. So one last comment from you then. Given your background in PR, and given that, I think we all at times feel that the Parkinson's community is a brilliant community, but we're too quiet and about the things that matter. What would your advice be to someone who wants to get involved in the Parkinson's community, wants to make a difference, who's just been diagnosed? What would your advice be as to how to set about that?
Join Parkinson's UK, first off.
Yeah.
Join your local group and find out what difference you can make where there are gaps in the skill set, for example. Because all too often volunteers show up, but nobody makes prodigious use of them and their skills and their experience. And at the end of the day, 99% of the people I know with Parkinson's are very smart people. And they're very educated, they've had fantastic careers, amazing experiences, and they're not being put to, as I say, prodigious use as volunteers, and they can make such a difference if they were to apply themselves in areas like marketing or accountancy or budgeting or planning or whatever it may be. In terms of PR, I think we could be a lot better at, we're too modest as an organization. We're too shy and hiding behind the kimono, as they say. It's a Japanese thing. We need to beat our own drum, bang our own drum rather, a bit more loudly. Because no one will thank us for being quiet and humble and shy and retiring at the end of the day.
I think that's a fair comment.
And we often speak about the general public not understanding Parkinson's or not having their awareness levels are not there. I asked a question in a meeting with some other of our colleagues last week, because they were complaining about the general public don't understand, they don't know XYZ about Parkinson's. And I said, okay, on that point, how many of us knew anything about Parkinson's before diagnosis?
That's very true.
We only learned what we know after we were diagnosed.
Yeah, no, that's very.
Why would we learn otherwise? So the awareness is there. People know of Parkinson's. What they don't know is the complexity of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
The idiosyncratic nature of Parkinson's, the fact that Parkinson's differs from individual to individual, and hence the drug regime and all the rest of it. Or the fact that the only predictable thing about Parkinson's is its unpredictability.
Yeah.
I often joke like that about the symptoms. I mean, as we all know, there's upwards of 45 symptoms that are recognized as Parkinson's. And any given point in time, at any given hour or any given day, you can have anything between 0 and 45 of those symptoms. If you kept count.
It's a very very misunderstood condition because of that, because the assumption is it's a tremor and that's what it means, because that's so visible. But
old men with tremors.
Pardon?
Old men with tremors.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we've still got the Wikipedia page has still got an old man with
shuffling along.
So, David, it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for talking through. But and one thing that I have to recall is one of my first memories of you was when you were running a session at that the event in Scotland, and you were just giving tip after tip after tip for people of things that they could do, devices they could use in order to just make life easier. And it's amazing. I think what it reinforced for me is, we talk about the big things making a difference, but it's amazing how little things can make a difference as well. And I certainly value your advice and your opinion, and I know other members of the board do as well. And I know that you make a big difference to a lot of people in the Parkinson's community and have done over a number of years. So please keep doing it. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it. Thank you.